ask that you hold my hand and allow me to take you back 30 years. Grasp it tight. And should you need to squeeze it, you may, for the story that I'm about to tell you, the story that I'm about to say may leave you haunted and hopeless, breathless and numb. We were at the Gurdwara when the sky turned red. No other color could be seen. I laid there with the sounds of bombs and gunshots in my ears. The cold marble floor gave relief to the wounds over my body, but nothing could stop my eyes from memorizing the murders of thousands in cold, cold blood. The gunshots had come to a cease, and for as far as I could see, the bodies laid in pieces, lingering between heaven and earth. Their lives were meant to be worth so much more than another digit added to the total number of casualties that day. I desperately searched for my parents. My sister slowly trailing behind me, I racked my brain trying to remember what they wore that morning. Was it a pink suit with a yellow chunni or a yellow chunni with a pink suit? My dad's bug, was it purple today or was it green? It didn't matter. The only color that I could see was red. Do you know that scream? When you completely empty your lungs of oxygen and hold it as your mouth stays open for minutes on end. You think you've stopped breathing, but your lungs catch fire and you intake a breath so sharp that it literally cuts you. That's what she did. My mother screamed shards of broken mirrors with the reflection of their love playing like a Bollywood movie. My mother shook over his body, like connecting the dots. She traced bullet holes over his chest, her eyes more red than the blood smeared over her neck. I dragged her away from his body and her screams grew louder. The crowd started to gather and the pile of corpses grew larger. I looked my sister in the eyes and told her to say her final goodbyes, and within sheer moments I set the bodies on fire. I'll never forget the smell of burning flesh. I'll never forget the way that they patiently waited for their broken bones to turn into ashes, and only once there was enough to fill the cups of their hands did they pour their brothers and sisters, their mothers and fathers into the sea of blood, of bullets and shells. We were at the Gurdwara when the sky turned red. No other color could be seen. 30 years later, and I still remember the crime scene, the torture, the rape. I'll never forget the genocide, but like my father said that morning, I can never be broken without my permission. And that's when I decided that I would never give them the permission to break me. If I had a daughter, I would tell her that she is intelligent every single day. I would tell her that she is smart and she is intelligent and she is imaginative, because there is so much more to being a girl than just a pretty face. If I had a daughter, I would tell her that the world is smaller than it seems, but people can dream bigger dreams than the world. I would tell her that there's a stroke of kindness in everyone. And if she opens her eyes and her heart wide enough, she'll see that kindness. I would tell my daughter that she cannot change people, but she can inspire them. She cannot fix people, but she can motivate them. I would tell my daughter that life isn't always fair, but she can treat everyone with fairness. I would tell my daughter to take a step forward from time to time and look at the smaller picture, because details are important too. I would tell my daughter that sometimes it'll feel like the glass is half full, and sometimes it'll feel like it's half empty. But baby, there's water in the glass, so if you're thirsty, just drink it. I would tell my daughter what struggles are, so she'd appreciate the good times. I would tell her what broken hearts feel like, so that she'd learn to love with honesty, because some people break hearts, and some by accident and some on purpose, but that doesn't make them heartbreakers, that only makes them human. I would tell my daughter stories from when I was a little girl. I would tell her how the smell of Pert Plus shampoo reminds me of when I was small enough to fit into the wash basin and have my mother wash my hair. I would tell my daughter how my mother would scrub my neck, complaining that it had become dark from playing outside for too long. I would tell my daughter to ignore all the fair and lovely commercials and play outside more often. I would tell her how my sisters taught me to ride my bike, and I learned to live in balance. I would tell her how my father taught me to cut the grass, and change light bulbs, and hang Christmas lights, and trim trees, and change tires, because my father always allowed me to be his equal. I would tell my daughter what it felt like to walk into a hospital room where my mother laid. After giving birth to her fifth daughter, the fifth daughter in a sequence of nothing else but daughters. I would tell my daughter that I cried because I was happy, but everyone was crying because they were sad. They pitied me. I had another sister. One after another, we were a house full of girls, as weak as a house full of cards, but baby, we are a house of queens now. We are nothing but royalty now. I would tell my daughter that there is no difference between brothers and sisters. I would tell her that there is no difference between woman and man. I would remind her that we are capable of everything, yet we are nothing more than human, and a good human is all I would want my daughter to be if I was so blessed as to have one. And if I were, I would tell her that she's intelligent every single day. I would tell her that she is smart and that she is imaginative, because there is so much more to being a girl than just a pretty face.